Welcome everyone to another live stream of When Keeping It Real Goes Wrong. We're going to investigate two cases tonight. The first one, when I read it, I couldn't believe what I was reading. It's about a pastor who got caught not only doing crystal meth, but he also performed an illegal exorcism in his church. I'm telling you, you have to see it in order to believe it. Let's do the copyright disclaimer and get into it. A local pastor is currently under investigation in a child abuse case. He was arrested outside of a Mayflower gas station. This happened in Arkansas. LloydEDLasker, age 49, was charged with possession of controlled substance, a Class C felony. He was also charged with possession of drug paraphernalia, which is a Class D, possession of a firearm, Class D felony. Authorities reported that he was found with 4 grams of crystal meth and a glass pipe in his truck. He is the pastor of House of Refuge and Deliverance Church. When the authorities went to look for Lasker, because he's out now on a warrant, he was wanted for questioning in the child abuse case. The drug task force agents first went to his home, and they couldn't find him at home, and so they found him at the gas station. They noticed the baggie inside of the door pocket. The pastor denied any knowledge of having the drugs, of course. Because he was on probation with an active search warrant, authorities also went to his residence and found multiple firearms, ammunition, and boxes of crack pipes, which are used for crystal meth. They launched an investigation following a welfare check, which was requested by one of the parents of a 1-year-old boy who was at the House of Refuge and Deliverance Church. When the officers responded, they found the child with multiple bruises on his head and toes, and he was thoroughly emaciated. He was thirsty, dehydrated, and he had lost significant weight loss. The mother claimed that the 2-year-old was possessed by a demon, and they went and asked pastor to perform an exorcism. Now, it's my understanding that exorcisms are only performed through the Catholic Church. So Baptist churches are now doing exorcisms. My God, today. Let's listen to this news clip.
Arkansas pastor out of Mayflower is facing drug charges after police say he was using meth at church with his parishioners. Thanks so much for joining us this evening. I'm Laura Monteverdi. Good evening, Bob.
Hello, good evening, everybody. I'm Bob Clausen. Though the man worked at Mayflower Church in Conway, police are leading the investigation. Alexis Wainwright has the latest details on all this.
I'm outside of the Conway Police Department where detectives are still trying to piece together this investigation. According to court documents, when police were following up on a child abuse case, they found the pastor and another man with drugs. LloydEDLasker Jr. has been charged with possession of controlled substance, drug paraphernalia, and possession of a drug by a convicted felon. Lasker Jr. is a pastor of the House of Refuge and Deliverance in Mayflower. According to an affidavit, Conway police wanted to talk with Lasker while following up on a case. Police say when they went to his house, he wasn't there, but they later found him and another man in a truck. After searching that truck, they found meth and a pipe. Police say Lasker later admitted to having a gun in his house and that he used meth. When police searched his home, they found a gun, several rounds of ammunition, and a box of pipes. The investigation is ongoing. We did reach out to the church for comment, but we haven't heard anything back yet. We will continue to update you once we learn more. Reporting in Conway, Alexis Wade.
Arkansas.
Very telling. Now I'm going to show you some pictures. This is him and his wife. He is married. Beautiful wife. But I guess the drugs took hold of him. I just often wonder, when people do stuff like this, do they realize that the wives and the kids and other family members, those are the ones that are left to pick up these pieces? And they're talking about him doing exorcism. He looks possessed. He looks like he needs an exorcism. I'm just looking at him. I'm like, he looks a little bit crazed, dazed, and confused. I'm just like, my God, this is all going down in the church house. Okay, so we're going to move on to our next story. Now, this next story really is about when keeping it real goes wrong. It's what happens when a scorned woman decides that if she can't have the pastor, nobody will. Let me read a little bit to you. Her name is LaTosha Daniels, and she is charged with first-degree murder, among other crimes, against Associate Pastor Rhodes Perry of the Mississippi Boulevard Christian Church.
A Fox 16 News update now. An Arkansas woman accused of murdering a Tennessee pastor is fighting the charges against her. Today, LaTosha Daniels pleaded not guilty.
Daniels is accused of killing Memphis area pastor Rhodes Perry and injuring his wife late last week. But she was not in the courtroom today. Fox 16's Ali Herrera explains why.
Moments after entering a not guilty plea for his client, 39-year-old LaTosha Daniels, attorney Leslie Ballin told us he meant it.
We are taking it slowly. We are taking this professionally, and we're going to do what needs to be done.
Daniels was expected to make her first court appearance Tuesday. Ballin says his client didn't because he hadn't seen her, and she was in a holding area. The licensed social worker is accused of killing 36-year-old Pastor Rhodes Perry and shooting his wife in the shoulder. According to police records, Daniels shot them at the Meridian Park Apartments Thursday night. Documents show she said, quote, "You broke my heart," while shooting Perry. Daniels is also facing charges after she tried to escape police custody and assaulted an officer.
The criminal court process is new to this family and to our client.
According to state records, Daniels was licensed as a social worker in 2012. The Psychology Today website says she specializes in anger management and domestic violence. Ballin says his team may be asking for a bond hearing in the coming weeks.
There's a lot of fact-finding that Ms. Rue and I and our staff will need to do, and we will report back to the court on April 23rd.
The Arkansas Social Work Licensing Board says it is aware of the charges against Daniels and will likely not take any action against her as long as she remains in custody. If Daniels is found guilty, she would lose her license.
This just in, a surprise twist in court for an Arkansas social worker charged in the deadly shooting of a Memphis pastor at his home in Collierville. LaTosha Daniels is accused of killing Rhodes Perry in front of his wife last month. Investigators believe it was a love triangle gone sour. Local 24 News reporter Brad Broders live outside the courtroom with some new information. Brad?
Katina, Rhodes Perry's wife, Tabitha, who was also shot but survived, was set to testify here today at LaTosha Daniels' preliminary hearing. But instead, Daniels' legal team waived that preliminary hearing, and this case now goes to a Shelby County grand jury. Now, as she did during her last court appearance, LaTosha Daniels visibly emotional, wiping tears this afternoon in court. Investigators said last month, Daniels, a certified anger management specialist, drove from Little Rock, Arkansas to the Collierville apartment complex complex where Brodus Perry and his wife Tabitha lived. According to the affidavit, Perry's wife said Daniels said, "You broke my heart," while she shot the Mississippi Boulevard Christian Church executive pastor several times. Records show Daniels was a member of the pastor's former church in Arkansas and worked with him at a nonprofit organization.
Not understanding what it's like to be in jail myself, I would imagine you get used to any of your surroundings, no matter how difficult they may be. So it appears she's adapting to where she is. She is better today than she was yesterday.
LaTosha Daniels remains in jail without bond. Her attorney said it's expected the grand jury will take up her case sometime in the next 3 to 4 months. More than a dozen of LaTosha Daniels' family members and friends were in the courtroom showing their support, but they declined comment, leaving the courthouse. Reporting live in Collierville, Brad Broders, Local 24 News.
New at 9 tonight, we are finally hearing from the senior pastor of Mississippi Boulevard Christian Church about the recent passing of Pastor Brodus Perry. Reverend Dr. J. Lawrence Turner talked about Perry's passing with his congregation this morning.
Not only have we experienced the death of Brodus Perry to violence, but the rumors swelling around his murder leave us shocked and shaken. To those of you who are wondering, how could this happen? How could this happen within our safe and loving church community? To those of you in particular who came to know him as I did during the 5 months he was at Mississippi Boulevard, I want to say I'm heavy-hearted because of your pain.
Pastor Turner also mentioned church leadership will be reviewing the church's hiring practices moving forward, and grief counselors are still available for any church member.
Good afternoon, Mr. Brewer and I are here representing Ms. Daniels. Mr. Gilbert has had the opportunity to spend some time with us, and Dr. Roberts as well. We are able to confirm that Ms. Daniels has no record, which is what we thought prior to today. Although she has no record, we are asking you to hold in advance our request for bond study. We're not giving up on that request, but not asking that it be set today. We are asking that the matter be set for a preliminary hearing on May 21st at 2 p.m., which is calendar with the congregants.
All right, small problem. We don't have court on the 21st. Now, we could do May 28th at 2 p.m. Okay, all right. We could, if push came to shove, we could do May 14th at 2 p.m. I don't know about you, Mr. Gilbert.
That day, this may be having surgery to go to further, I think.
Well, we're somewhat limited by the 2 o'clock request. That's the reason. We don't have court at all on the 21st, and then we have the 2 p.m. on the 14th. We have the 2 p.m. on the 28th. We also have the 2 p.m. on June 11th, if that would be better for everybody.
June 11th. Not good for me.
We also have the 25th of June at 2 p.m.
So I have straightforward obligations at 9.
I understand. That's the reason I'm trying to stick to the 2 p.m.
That's the date you gave is May 20.
We have May 14th.
May 14th.
We have May 28th. We have June 11th. We have June 25th.
It's not the 14th, and if she's going to surgery,
You'll let us know. Right. So the request is May 14th. Mr. Gilbert's witness may have health issues that would prohibit her from being here. If that, in fact, does occur, we'll address the court prior to the 14th.
All right. healthy enough to appear, and if not, we'll work on giving another day, correct?
Correct.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys, what do y'all think about that? She said, if I can't have you, nobody will. But shame on him too, because he was leading a double life. He had a wife at home and then he had her on the side. And so she said, hey, either you don't choose me or her. And he said, I'm not leaving my wife. So she said, okay, you're not going to leave her? I got something for you. And that's what happens when keeping it real goes wrong. I'm going to put some pictures up real quick of the pastor. May you rest in peace. See, that's him and her together. That's her and the pastor. Now look at the pastor right there with his wife. Isn't he trifling? See there? Had both of them out on the town, taking pictures with him and whatnot. That's why you should never play with people's emotions. You should never string people along. I'm telling you, it's a deadly game. It's a deadly game. All right, guys, we're going to close out. We're going to do my personal affirmation. I say this to myself every day, and I encourage everyone to do the same. And it says, I am gifted. I am talented. I am beautiful. I am enough. Encourage yourself each and every day. Thank you so much for tuning in to the broadcast. Check me out on Sunday night where I'll be doing our unsolved and missing cases and a broken justice system. Tracy, thank you so much for your support and your love, always coming out and supporting me. Sly, thank you as well. You guys are amazing. All right, take care. Have a blessed night.